It's on your page and we're live.
Hello, we are live on a Tuesday night. Sorry we weren't here last Tuesday, but we wanted to be here today.
Yes, indeed.
Yes.
So we are live, not from
New Orleans.
Yeah, not from New Orleans. We're still here in St. Petersburg.
Yes.
And
we're
we'll
supposed
explain.
To be there.
We'll explain why soon. Yeah, I was supposed to be getting fat on red beans and rice about this time, but
Okay.
that didn't pan out. Pat.
No, no.
Oh well.
Yep. Hey Ron, glad you joined us.
Hey Ron, how's it going? Good to see you, Deidre. Well, anyway, so we're not in New Orleans. I'm not getting fat on red beans and rice. We've had 0 beignets. But we're in St. Petersburg, and that's pretty good too. So it turns out Pat had a little trip to the hospital, and everything's okay though.
Yes.
She had some, I can't even say the word.
Atrial fibrillation.
Atrial
fibrillation.
It's a good thing I'm not a doctor. But I'll tell you, it's kind of a scary thing, but it happened while Pat was at the doctor. So they sent her straight to the emergency room. She spent the night in the hospital. Everything turned out okay.
Yep.
So life is good.
Yes.
But we learned a few things in the hospital.
Yes, we did.
So first thing, one business thing, because I know a lot of our friends that are watching this are business owners. I saw something really amazing. So we're in the hospital. Pat's getting excellent care. There were 3 nurses in particular. They were in the room and working, and we're like, man, you guys are great. We really appreciate everything you're doing. And one of the nurses said something I did not expect to hear. He said, well, we've got a lot of choices when it comes to hospitals, and if you need medical care, we'd like you to come back here. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute now. That
was really something.
You usually don't hear that out of somebody in a big organization like that. So somehow from the leadership level all the way down to the nursing staff, they were able to get the message that they want to provide good customer service and that people do have choices and they want them to come back there.
That's true.
So I was blown away by that. And, for those of us that have businesses, it's a good reminder, what are we doing to make sure that we have people come back to us? So that was the first lesson, was that customer service lesson.
Customer service.
And, we always try to go out of our way to make sure people come back, but it's a good reminder.
I don't know. You think it was because it was the cardiac unit? I don't know. The cardiac unit, of course, if you go to a specialized unit, you're going to have specialized care. But I think that we know someone else who works at St. Anthony, and I know that
I think they understand customer service too.
Understand customer service all over.
I don't think it's that, Pat, though, because most organizations, there's a big disconnect between the service that you provide and your paycheck, and that's something that we really don't see enough of.
Yeah.
And you see it when you go to a retail store. I certainly didn't expect to see that at the hospital, but that was excellent. Whoever trains those people and kind of gets the word down and gets people to understand that customer service is where it's at, even in a medical facility, that's just outstanding. So that was thing number 1. Thing number 2 is how awesome it is to have a partner that you work with every day and you're working together on everything. Because I'll tell you what, Pat, Luke just fell down. Hang on. Hang on. This is more important than anything.
Oh, Luke is
all right. Luke's gone. Anyway, so Pat had a transaction in process when she went into the hospital. And for those of you that don't know, in a real estate transaction, there's certain deadlines and they have to be met. If they are not met, then there are consequences, and the consequences are not necessarily good. So Pat had a transaction going, so it was no big deal. I knew what was going on in the transaction. I already knew all the people involved, and I was able to just take care of it. It was no big deal because I'd already been working with Pat on the transaction, even though in this case, you were the lead person and I was kind of doing the back end.
Sure, that's true.
And sometimes it's the other way around.
Yep.
But it really made me think that, okay, so if you were just a regular agent, well, maybe somebody back at the office could help out or your broker could help out. But then they don't really know what's going on. They have to kind of get up to speed.
Yeah.
So there can be mistakes, there can be delays.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was really awesome that we work together so much.
Yep.
That
we can cover for each other.
Yeah, if one of us isn't available.
Right. Like that was an unexpected event last Thursday, which then went into Friday. So it really showed us that we can really pick up the slack for each other and help each other out a lot, which is what it's all about anyway, as you all know here.
And that was the first thing that stretched over a few days.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, we've always had things where like, oh, Pat, I got delayed. Can you go show that house? Or,
right.
Can you go see this person and get something signed? Little stuff like that we do all the time and take for granted.
We do take it for granted. Like we don't even think about it, but this really made us think about having a really good partner is so vital to a successful outcome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it sure is. And, when you're in business, boy, things happen unexpected all the time.
That's true. Yep.
And as my mom always says, like, well, you are getting older. So
I don't like that.
There's always that. And what are you going to do, So that was a good thing. We always tell people that it's a big benefit having two of us. It's kind of a 2-for-1 deal.
Right.
But that really proved it.
It did. It was
Pat
totally
was
seamless. Yeah. It just shifted over to him and they knew about him anyway. So yeah. So just think about that in your business. Who would help you out if you needed help? It's important to kind of get that in place.
Especially for our realtor friends that have logged on.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you need to have a little informal agreement with somebody. Like we have one with our brokers. It's nothing formal or anything. It's just like if they're out of town or sick or busy, one of us can go take care of whatever it is that they need. Right. And then they do the same thing for us. Mm-hmm. And it just all kind of works out because sometimes we help them, sometimes they help us. And then everybody's well covered. And we're lucky in our office. We've got our 2 brokers that we do that with. And then we've got 2 other, I kind of call them team members, I guess. I mean, they're colleagues in the office that we work very closely with.
That's true.
So that's 4 people.
Yeah. So we really do have it very well covered, no matter what is going to happen. Yeah. So, and if anyone here has questions about that, please ask. Just type it in and we'll be more happy to
we'll tell you guys
questions.
anything.
Yeah, there's no secrets.
So it's good in business to have a backup, especially if you're like we are. We're self-employed. We're just sole proprietors, even though there's 2 of us.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're not in New Orleans. I hate to harp on that, but
I know. So we had to go to New Orleans, not had to. We wanted to go to New Orleans.
We had to go to New Orleans. It was just
for a wedding.
Yeah.
And I really was looking forward to it. It was at Humus Plantation, and I saw pictures, and it was just fabulous. So yeah. Yeah,
you and your atrial
fibrillation.
Yeah, I wish I could say that word.
I don't know why I can't say it.
Well, I can't do the R thing in Spanish either.
Oh, you don't know.
I can't do it.
He can't do that either.
Hey, is there somebody out there that can teach me how to do that?
He doesn't know how to do the rolling R's.
I get made fun of so much because I can't do the
Yes, there he goes.
Yeah, I can't do it. All right, so let's talk about AsIs Contract. That was the one thing we were going to talk about today.
Yes, AsIs Contract.
Because it gets abused a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're going to kind of talk about that for a minute. When you buy a house here in Florida, usually we use the FAR AsIs Contract. So what does FAR mean? That's Florida Association of Realtors and the
Bar Association.
The Bar Association.
Right.
So the Realtor Association and the lawyer associations, they both approved this thing and put it together for us to use. And
how many pages is it? 12?
12 pages.
12 pages.
Right. And it's an as-is contract. So that kind of has some implications, but people often abuse it. Like I'll see on the buyer side, we'll see folks who will have an inspection, find something wrong with the house, which inevitably there's always something wrong.
Even with a new house.
And then use that as an occasion to renegotiate the contract and try and get yet another discount on the house. Now that's an abuse of the as-is contract.
Right.
Now, do you ever see any abuses on the seller side?
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. We see that all the time.
Yeah, like for example, sometimes folks will just dig their heels in and say, well, I'm not fixing anything, even though it may be something that materially affects the value of the house. And that's really the key, I think, Pat.
I think
is
so
that
too.
our litmus test for as-is issues, when something comes up on an inspection, if it's something that we could have known about by just walking through the house, like the water heater's rusty was a good example.
There you go.
It's like, well,
We saw that.
we saw it. It's rusty.
We knew before.
You can't go back and say, oh, well, the inspection showed the water heater's rusty. We're going to need a new water heater.
Right.
Like, no, that's an abuse of that. However, if the inspection shows something that maybe nobody knew about,
Like something electrical,
well,
especially.
that's different.
Or plumbing maybe.
Yeah, because you couldn't have known about that.
Right. You
Because
would not have known.
you're not a contractor.
Right.
Or maybe it's something that is not readily visible unless you get up in the attic and crawl
Sure.
around. So
Sure.
that's
Sure.
why inspectors are so valuable, is because they're trained to find things that materially affect the value of the house.
Yep.
That you need to know about.
I want to say hi to Dan and April and Rick and Meredith. Meredith bought a new house, so maybe she wants to chime in here if she's still on.
Meredith got a new house?
Well, she built a house. Meredith Rosser out in
Oh, yes.
Orlando. She built a new house, and maybe her house is gorgeous. So maybe she wants to write on here some of the things that she went through, even with like new construction. And April says hi. And Devonna Ham was on, and we had a bunch of people. Rachel, who's a realtor down in like Bradenton, is she Sarasota? Manatee.
Sarasota area.
Sarasota area.
I like her.
She's very nice. Yeah.
I hope she's
Yeah.
still on.
I hope she's still on. Well, maybe she'll listen to it later.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. So, yeah, as is contracts. It doesn't necessarily mean like, okay, you're going to take the house as it sits. It's sort of like, you can negotiate still. There's always a negotiation for everything. But if it's something that maybe won't pass insurance inspection, or it's just they did not see it.
Or if it's a safety issue.
It's a safety issue. Yeah. So those are all things that you have to really be mindful of. And having a good inspector, of course. We always talk about our inspectors and how good they are.
So let's talk about how to do it right.
Okay.
Here's what we recommend. So you get under contract with a house, and you usually have a span of time, usually a week or two, to have inspections done. And the purpose of the inspections is to see if there is anything that nobody knew about that needs to be known, like
Right.
Structural things, for example, or electrical things like you mentioned, or plumbing. So the inspector finds some things that there's no way you could have known without an inspection. And then what you do is you do what we call a request for repairs. Then you ask through the seller's agent that, we'd like to have these things repaired before we go to close. And they have a right to either agree to some or all of it, or just flat out refuse any of it. Now, it's usually foolish, because if you got a contract, it's a good idea to just kind of negotiate and make sure
And just get it done.
everybody's smiling.
Of course.
But we have had that happen.
We have.
In fact, I had it happen today.
Right.
But anyway, it's just one of those things where the seller has a right to decline to do any repairs. And then in that case, the buyer has a right to cancel the contract.
And get their deposit back.
Yeah, and they get their deposit back.
Correct.
But that's only if it's done before the deadline.
Right.
And that kind of comes back around to before, where we were talking about
The time of the essence deadlines.
Right.
And we have them on our calendar, and they're all there, and we know exactly, because you have to go by calendar days.
Yeah, let me give you the legal definition of time of the essence. It means you better do it. You better do it by that date, or else.
So Jennifer is here, and Chrissy from up in New York. I used to work with her.
Great.
Grant, Chrissy, come back down, live here. Nicole, I used to work with her too. And Lewis and Brad is on. So
excellent.
That's nice.
Got a lot of nice folks on there.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk a little bit more about the as-is contract.
Sure.
And how if you're a buyer, it can give you some leverage. So what happens? We give in the list of repairs, then
We also give
look
them
it over.
they also give them the inspection report.
Yeah, and why do we do that, Pat?
Because then they can't say they don't know about a structural issue or, something major that needs replaced. And they have to then know, and the seller would know that this is something that needs to be done, and they can't then just sell it to another buyer. At least they're not supposed to.
It has to be disclosed.
It has to be disclosed so that, sellers fill out seller's disclosures if they've ever lived in the house or if they've owned the house, really. And so they have to really make sure that they disclose that now, because now it is known to them by a professional.
Yeah, and
and we always give the inspection reports because we want to make sure that they understand, and that it's not just coming from us like, oh, we're saying that the electrical is wrong or it needs a new hot water heater, or, oh, you need a new roof. No.
Yeah, who are you?
Who am I?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we do give them the inspection report. If the buyer allows us, we make sure that we do get permission from them, and we do give it to the selling agent and make sure that they understand, and we give them the whole report so that they can understand what needs fixed.
Yeah, it protects the general public too.
That's true.
Because so maybe the deal doesn't work out for our people, but then it has to be disclosed to the next people so that they know what they're dealing with.
Right.
And let's say that we're on the other end of it, because I usually deal with sellers, and we've had that happen where there were some defects in the property. Our seller didn't know about them, and the deal didn't work out. People decided, no, we don't want that house because of this, and they go their own way. So they have a right to do that. But now
the seller's disclosure
we know
needs updated.
about a problem,
right.
So we have to do a new seller's disclosure, disclose the problems, and get the problems fixed. But it's actually a good thing.
Right.
You don't have to fix
Well, sometimes you do.
You don't have to fix anything.
Well, you don't have to fix anything, but it's going to be a hard time selling something if it's like the foundation is crumbling or something and they didn't know about it.
Yeah, but well, let me get back around to that. But I'll tell you why it's a good thing if you're the seller is because it'll keep you out of court. Because that way it's documented exactly what you knew.
Yeah, that's true.
They can't claim, oh, well, you knew about this and this and this and this.
Right.
It's like, well, no, you knew about exactly what was written on that report. So even though on the surface it sounds like a big problem if you're a seller, it's actually saving you money down the road because you won't get sued.
Right.
Or you're not likely to. And if
right.
somebody does,
sure.
then they're sure to lose because you've got documentation.
Yeah. And we go to the inspections, at least both of us or one of us. So yesterday you went to the inspection because I couldn't go.
Yeah, you were with doctors. So
right.
Another benefit of having two of us.
Another benefit of having two. So we like to go to the inspections to make sure that our buyer is represented, and also just that in case they need us for anything. Sometimes the buyers can't even go, but this time the buyer did go.
Yeah, and sometimes I help.
That's true.
The inspector might need an extra pair of hands or whatever.
Yeah, you never know.
And we both have construction backgrounds, so it gives us an opportunity to kind of put another set of eyes on it, even though we're not inspectors and we're not general contractors. It doesn't hurt to have some extra eyes on things. Right,
and also if you had seen something that was a little out of place, maybe when you were doing your, when you were looking at the house, you can then ask the inspector, can you check that particular thing out? I had a question about that. Yes. And they'll either say, oh, it's no worries, no problem. Or they'll say, oh my God, run away from the house.
Yeah. And also we can explain it to the buyer because, sometimes these things sound serious. Like, for example, at the inspection we went to the other day, there was a live wire just hanging out of a box. And, that could freak somebody out.
Yeah.
But, I knew that could be fixed with a screwdriver in about 30 seconds. And it's not a big deal to an electrician, but it's a big deal if you're a homeowner and you touch that wire.
It sure is. Plus, for safety, it should not be like that at all.
Yeah. But
so it does need repaired.
But we always go for that reason.
Exactly.
Now, if you have any questions about any of this stuff, just type them in. We'll tell you anything you want to know.
Yes.
But a real estate contract in Florida is actually very, very straightforward. In fact, when I got my license, I couldn't believe how easy it is to understand.
It is.
There's not a lot of hard words in it. And of course, if you have a very competent agent, You know, you're going to get through it just fine. Now, you had some questions that came up.
So
What do you have on your list? I don't want to monopolize the whole
no,
thing.
that's okay. So there was something I had read, and then someone was talking to me about it, about the 10 questions when purchasing a home. So this kind of reels back to, going for an inspection and stuff. So number one is the roof. How old is the roof? In this particular case, the roof is new. And you can verify it by pulling permits. So, I'm like the permit queen, as I'm known, and I love permits. So you can tell when the roof was done. And that's really important for insurance purposes and just to know when you're purchasing a home, how old the roof is, because you may not pass inspection then.
Yeah, because they want to usually see 5 years of life left on it.
Yeah. Same thing with another big ticket item. Number two is how old is the air conditioning? In this particular case, yesterday, the air conditioning is just a few years old. So it kind of makes you feel good when a roof and AC is in good shape.
Those are the two big ticket
Those are
items,
like two
really.
big ticket items. So also looking like for water intrusion or mold. So if you're sensitive to mold, you might smell it right away. Or do you see any water intrusion anywhere in the house? And I don't mean from the roof. I'm talking more like the foundation area. And number four, is the foundation good? Is it a block home or is it a wood frame home? I'm not afraid of wood frame homes. Some people don't like wood frames down here because it they think of termites, and I'm not afraid of termites. So
let me hold you there for a second.
Yeah, we have a question.
April had a good question.
Yeah.
And does the buyer's agent have to share the inspection report with the seller or seller's agent? And the answer to that is no. And matter of fact, not only do you not have to share it, but in order to share it, you have to have the permission of the buyer. And the reason for that is because the buyer is the one paying for it. So they own that report. So technically it's not ours to give to anybody.
No.
It belongs to the buyer. So we will ask them and explain to them why we should give it to them. And then we give it over.
Yeah,
so,
we like to share, because then it's just easier to share it, and this way nothing is a secret.
Yeah, so that's
my
that's
hashtag, no secrets.
That's the long answer to your question, April. But the short answer is no, you do not have to give the inspection report to the seller. But if you're going to claim that something's wrong with the house, you pretty much have to. Otherwise,
we like giving it, because then they can see it's not just, like I said before, coming from us.
Yeah.
So
Okay, go ahead.
another question when purchasing a home is, now this does happen in Florida, is there a well or a septic tank? Now, where we live, we have, sewer and piping in the streets and stuff. But if you go further north into like Citrus County or, further up there, then you want to know, what do you have? Do you have a well? Do you have a septic tank? And those are other inspections, by the way, that you would absolutely want to do.
Yeah. There are a lot of septic tanks here in St. Petersburg area.
Are there?
Still.
Really?
Okay. They're not in use, but they're still in the ground.
Gotcha. Okay. And this is a good one. What stays with the home? So on an AsIs contract,
Oh my God.
it'll say, appliances, but a refrigerator may not even be in the house. It's already excluded because it doesn't say, I don't believe, refrigerator on the AsIs.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't. So refrigerator and washer and dryer, I believe those are the exceptions on the contract. So if you want to have that put in, you really need to make sure that you, as the buying realtor, buyer's agent, you need to make sure that that's in the contract, because otherwise, if there's a nice, gorgeous washer and dryer there and you don't put it in, it's going to be gone. I hate to say that. One other tip with what's in the house, and this goes, you know what I'm going to say. So this goes back to, I'm going to say, I don't even know, 12, 15 years ago, whatever it was. So I worked somewhere else, and people did an inspection and everything came out back all right. Then they went to closing day, did the walkthrough. They came back to do the closing, went back to the house, and one important piece of furniture, and I don't even want to call it furniture, important item was missing from the house. and that was the island in the kitchen. Okay, you're wondering how they could move an island with granite on in the kitchen. Well, they did. And they did it between the walkthrough and when the person was coming back to get the house. So it's one story I always tell because it was on rollers.
That's pretty shady.
It was very underhanded by the sellers to do that, but they did. And they would not give it back because it was not in the contract. And to have anything in the contract, it has to be attached. So you have to make sure that it's kind of like if you turn the house upside down, what stays at that point? Well, your kitchen cabinets. All right, so some appliances may not stay, but the kitchen cabinets, all of your fixtures in the bathroom, that's kind of a way to think about what's going to stay in the house. But then you have to think about other things too, like the appliances and what appliances are going to stay. The other thing is about what's staying.
Hold up. Before you go on with that, I'll tell you what I thought you were going to say was that, and this sounds paranoid, but and even if you use other agents, this is a good idea to make sure you're there or you do, is go through and take pictures of all the appliances.
Yes.
Because we've seen it where, it's this beautiful appliances, all gorgeous, shiny.
A Wolf stove or something, and then it's
and then you come in for the walkthrough, and then there's some crappy appliance there.
Yeah.
They're like, well, we didn't say we were leaving these appliances.
No, and it doesn't matter what's in multiple listing service either on the pictures because they can change them out. Hence, the one story I just told you of the people taking the granite island with them.
Now, wait a minute. What's the law say on that, too? A lot of people don't realize that if it says it in the multiple listing service on the listing, well, that's fine and dandy. But the only thing that matters is what it says on the contract.
That's correct.
So if it's not on the contract,
that's a good point. Because a lot of things people think,
bad.
oh, well, they said a washer and dryer on multiple listing service on MLS. Doesn't matter.
A lot of agents end up buying washers and dryers because of that.
So April said that she had 3 things missing that were supposed to stay when she bought her house.
That happens a lot.
It happens, and you have to really be mindful of it. Like if there's a workbench in the garage that's not mentioned, or a shed in the backyard that's not mentioned, and it's something that the buyer wants, it goes. I put everything in the contract. I'm crazy.
You're insane about that.
I am.
Like every little thing.
Every little thing. Number 7 is someone had a question. Do we take possession right after closing? And I thought that was an interesting question because, like, do we have to wait or what do we do? And no, you'll get the keys and it'll be yours because the funding will go through. Now, the only time that won't happen is if there's separate closings where you as the buyer do it first and then the seller do it the next day, something along those lines. But normally, yes, after closing, after all is done, all the money's transferred, you will get the keys and that is your home. And you can go in it and start painting and do whatever you want.
Go straight there. In fact, a lot of people do. They just go straight to their new house.
Yeah. And so another thing is, can you do that for me?
Oh, yeah.
Cost of utilities. So people want to know, well, what if my utilities are like my electric's $400 a month because the house that has old windows and is not or whatever. You can find out through either Duke Energy or wherever you are that what the cost is of electricity and water and whatever else that utilities you want. And that's something that we do help our people with. And what are other homes costing? Well, that I think probably would be at the very beginning when we do comparative market analysis to see kind of what the houses in the area are going for and what they're selling for and what's on the market now. So we do both. Also schools in the area, are they A-rated? And what if you wanted to resell, how good of a resell would it be?
Yeah. Wow, that's a lot of stuff.
I know. So it's 10 things. If you want the list, I can give it to you.
Yeah, just send us a message or email us.
Yeah, just send us anything. Does anyone have any questions here? We can answer some questions if you want. We have a minute.
Who wants to have breakfast tomorrow, by the way? We haven't been doing that lately, having breakfast with our friends.
Yeah. So, if you want to have breakfast, message us.
Yeah, if you want to have breakfast with us tomorrow morning, message us.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Because we're not in New Orleans.
I know, I'm so sad.
That's okay. I always love being home. And
I know.
And I love being anywhere with you.
That's true. Me too. We're very blessed. We're very lucky. And I'm very lucky I was at my doctor's office
And
last week.
you're tip top, 100%, right?
Yep.
Yep.
I
Still a
feel-
little tired from not sleeping at the hospital.
Oh my God.
But,
You know how it is at the hospital, you don't sleep.
but Pat's fully recovered.
Yeah.
And
I feel great.
expected to be just fine.
We
from
wanted
here
to
on
show
out.
him alive. See?
So, yeah, see? She's still here, and thank God for that.
Yes.
So, well, I hope we had some good information for you tonight. Boy, we had a lot of stuff to cover.
We did.
But thank you for watching. And, just noticed one last question. Let's see if we can fit this in.
So Dana says she's been calling the electric company with every move before I decide on my location. I've seen some homes have $100 difference in cost of electric. So you see,
Yeah, you're right, Dana.
yeah, so you have to really make sure that that's going to be well within your budget, because what if $100 is going to, really not throw something off with your house? So
Let me point. And another thing. So if you're considering two houses, maybe one of them has new windows and insulation, and the other one doesn't, but the price is different. Think about the lifetime value of that house.
that's true.
Sometimes the house that costs more may be costing you a lot less
Ooh,
over
that's
the
true.
time that you live there.
Yeah.
So consider that. And
Yeah, that was a good point, Dana. I'm glad that you
yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Dana.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so Dana's, when she bought her house, or when she went around looking, she did do that. She went and called the electric company to find out.
Well, she's a smart one.
She is.
Well, thanks a lot, everybody. Appreciate you watching. I hope you got something out of it. We're here every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern with, we still don't know what to call this. We're calling it the Chuck and
We're
Pat
just calling
Show,
Chuck and Pat Show.
where we talk about mostly real estate or whatever else we happen to have
Yeah.
come to mind. So on behalf of me and Pat and Lucky the
Lucky's
dog,
down here.
here's Lucky. Say goodbye, Lucky. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Have a great night, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.